All right, should be recording. Should work afterwards. All right, so where were we? Yes, we got this Google Doc. Now, one of the major reasons why people don't improve, like if I had to pick one reason, number one reason, the reason would be they try to improve at too many things at the same time, and that just doesn't work, right? You cannot be learning a new hero and working on your map awareness and learning like how to counter drafts and shit like at the same time. You're not gonna do any of those things. So it's important, really important to have focus and know exactly what you're hoping to get out of a particular game.
Yeah.
And that's where this is kind of dividing the game into topics roughly. And Dota is very complicated. Like you can never fully like write a list of everything. It's just that's why the game is fun, right? There's like 10,000 things to be good at.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like a rough division. So let's go through them real quick. We got mechanics. For most people, mechanics are not really an issue, with the exception of camera control, which pretty much everybody could improve on, right? I've coached like a couple hundred people and can count on one hand the people who actually had like better camera control than I would expect for their level. Super rare. So we're gonna see that in the replay from your player perspective.
Yeah.
Then we have game plan. So this is basically what people ask about. When do I do this? When like I get these questions like, oh, if I'm a mid, when should I gank? Blah blah blah. The answer to all of these, okay, apart from the last one, the answer to all of these, like when to do this, is the same. What do you think is that answer?
It depends, or
Exactly, it depends, right? So what does it actually depend on then? Well, that's basically this whole third category. So the way to see this is like strategy is everything you can prepare outside of the game, right? Like learn how heroes, drafts, item builds, etc. match up. And then that knowledge, how you use that to win the game, is basically your game plan, right? Like how well can you translate your understanding of strategy into forming a game plan, to actually make the right moves depending on the game.
Yeah.
This is what I'll talk about, like with the styles. All right, because if your style is to just be super aggressive and fight all the time, in the games where that's the right call, you're gonna stomp, and in the games where it's not the right call, you're just gonna lose. So that's what generally for this first lesson we focus on, this to see your understanding of the strategy. And again, we do that through the replay. And now you might think like, okay, I'm playing solo queue, right? I just pick my hero. What's the point of talking about drafts when I cannot control the draft? It's not about, like, you will have shitty drafts, obviously. It's gonna happen. But the point is, you have to know why they're shitty, like what makes them bad, which parts of the game are they bad at, and which parts are they okay at, because it's impossible to have a draft that's bad at everything.
Yeah.
Most, like, one of the most common cases is you have some draft that, like, let's say has 0 team fight, but it will probably be a draft with pretty good pick-off potential, let's say, or tower push. So already there, it gives you a good idea of how to approach the game.
Yeah.
So did you manage to find any decent recent replays?
I mean, it's really hard to choose. And I just looked. I had like, and it was really hard to choose. But I found this Ember game. It was like after I lost the game, I was kind of tilting. Like the beginning was a bit awful, like in the laning, and then I kind of stomped them, but we still lost. It was like really awkward game. Like I feel like I did good, but like probably made some things I could have done better, or like some things I could have known about the game.
So this last one.
No, like the one before that. It's like Ember lost.
Yeah, Ember lost. Okay, for 6 minutes.
I feel like the recent game I just stomped completely.
We actually we didn't talk about roles at all, but so you're playing mid mostly.
Yeah, I'm usually mid or carry. But like sometimes I just alternate when I feel like my carry is so bad, and then when I play carry, then my mid is bad, and I'm like, I usually just play mid. But
I see.
yeah,
Yeah. All right, cool. I mean, I could coach you on any role, any hero, pretty much. But particularly, I play mostly mid. Also, Ember's one of my favorite heroes, so that's a bonus for you.
yeah, that's good.
All right. Let's see. So, okay, we're gonna start here now. This is solo queue, right? So you're queuing for mid lane. All right, you find this match. Load into the game. Everybody picks their hero. All right, so you see both full lineups, and now before the game actually starts, the creeps spawn. You have about 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking about in those 2 minutes?
What I'm thinking about.
So basically, call this the pre-game thought checklist. All right.
Yeah.
No, just be honest. It's not a test, right? It's not to call you out or something. Just.
I mean, it's not like I'm thinking anything specifically. Like I'm just kind of like analyzing the game like indirectly. It's like, yeah, it's not like I think of it like directly, but like basically I just need to kind of have enough region on lane, like kind of sustain, because I will kill the Skywrath later, and just kind of focus on getting a bit of farm. So like I can deal with the Chaos Knight and stuff, and just try to be active when they overextend, and kind of make sure my Luna gets some space. I don't know really, because
Okay, so basically you think about laning stage, right?
Yeah.
And you're thinking about
yeah, I feel like I just wanted to delay the Skywrath timings and get my Yules and like in a good timing. So just like some damage control, so Luna gets like more free play. I feel like.
So about lane stage, you think a bit about the enemy cores, right? But not in a very specific way. Okay, I mean, it's fine. It's a good start. But basically, we're gonna now make this more specific. So you have like these important things to go through. It's quite simple. Obviously, like initially now we're gonna spend like probably 10 minutes talking about it, but as you get used to it, you can do this very, very fast. And I can show you afterwards, like we could pick some other random replay that I haven't seen, and I'll just tell you like immediately what comes to mind. Like in 30 seconds, I could tell you, right, like what I would think, what you should do, game plan, drafts, blah, blah. All right.
Yeah.
And that's basically as you do this a couple times, you're gonna be able to do the same thing. So the number one question you gotta ask yourself is, which team has the better late game? Alright, this is where we start. So what do you think about this game?
I would say ours, to be honest. But
okay, why?
We have good like team fight we have like most of our heroes scale, like Enigma scales, Ember, Luna, like even Winter Wyvern, I guess to some extent. Like he can, just punish them if they get out of position.
I mean, doesn't Elder Titan also scale though?
Yeah. But I feel like usually in these games, I feel like in this bracket at least, like Elder Titan is never a problem. I feel like, especially when I'm playing Ember.
It's very, very like it's one of the most difficult heroes actually. So I can imagine that.
I feel like I get hit by one stun like each game. When I'm playing Ember, max.
Well, Ember is a very good hero against them, obviously, yeah. And I have to correct you there, it's a sleep, it's not a stun. Important difference, yeah.
Yeah.
But Wraith King also scales though.
Yeah.
Right. So, can you think of anything specifically? What gives you the edge in the late game?
I mean, it depends on how late it is. If it gets really late, then it's gonna be harder for us to kill them and punish them. Because like you have two tanky cores, and Wraith King has extra life, and they have a lot of like kill potential, like late game. If they catch you, you're dead in 2 seconds. But I feel like if we like we're the ones that got the catch, and kind of played together, we could easily like punish them late game with Enigma and Winter Wyvern and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So, side note here, when it's not very clear which team has the better late game in terms of like, on paper, the strength of the heroes. The other thing you want to look at is how easy it is to execute the lineup and the heroes, right? And then you obviously favor what's easier. So in this case, like, if it were a pro game, I would definitely favor your lineup, even though Luna sucks pretty much. I think Luna's pretty bad right now. I would still favor your lineup because of Enigma, right? Enigma is one of those heroes that can, like, if there's no direct counter, it can easily carry. The only thing they have is, Wraith King Reincarnation, which is like a soft counter, but it doesn't matter if, his team is dead. And the ET Earth Splitter, which does actually pierce, immunity. It ignores Lincoln, and it's quite good because, he drops it. It has like a delay, so it kind of prevents Enigma from black holing in that area. But again, that's assuming like that if it were a pro game and you could assume perfect execution. In this case, it's not. And because it's not, I would have to favor the Radiant a little bit because they don't care so much about cooldowns. It's like Wraith King, Chaos Knight, just a click. It's very difficult to mess up with those heroes. Whereas you guys, like, you need to land those ultis properly for things to work out. Still, it's kind of close-ish, but long story short, Famous Ember, I don't really have faith in, like, all my teammates are always gonna make the perfect curse and black holes in the fight, and also like I said, Luna not a very strong carry right now. So I wouldn't choose to go late game here if I could.
On a side note, I avoided three of my teammates this game. Like, they were literally fighting on off lane, and it was like horrendous.
But so again, like, the key thing here is, like, you have to have realistic expectations, right? Because honestly, like, even if, let's say, the Enigma happens to be playing really well, maybe it's his best hero or whatever, and he just gets like all these, bags, Octobrine, Refresher, blah blah blah, and he just wins the game for you. Like, that doesn't mean that it was a good idea to go for late game, because it's luck based, right? If he was bad, you would just lose. If that was what you're counting on. So you wanna, again, count as little as possible on your team if you just want to have a high win rate in solo queue, which is pretty straightforward. So which team has the better late game? Addition here, which lineup is easier to execute? Then there's lane stage, obviously, and basically we're gonna expand on this one. Actually, no. Before let's talk a bit more about lane stage. You mentioned something interesting. You said, I want to slow down the Skyrat's timings until I get my Yules, something like that, right?
Yeah, so it's like, I don't want to like gank too much, and I don't want to farm too much. Just like apply some pressure on him, and just like still get my farm so I can get my Yules in time. And if there is an opportunity, I can gank the side lanes. Like, I shouldn't focus on that at all, because that would ruin my game and give Skyrath like free free space to get his items. Then he could just kill anyone on the map.
Okay, so interesting. So now I'm gonna ask you some stuff. Basically, when it comes to approaching the mid lane, there's one very key question here, which might sound a bit strange, but you'll see why it's relevant. What you need to ask yourself every time for the mid matchup is, which mid farms the jungle faster?
Mine.
Ember. I mean, it's very clear in this game, right? Skyrat is one of the slowest. Yes. Okay. So with this in mind, now there's two, like, how the lane actually plays out. You can see it like a spectrum, right? And on one end of the spectrum, like extreme end, we have only farming, right? So both of you just you don't really try anything, no harass. You just look for your farm, push out the wave, farm jungle, blah blah. And the other extreme is, well, the opposite, right? You don't care about farm, you just keep fighting each other. You're like spamming mangoes and solves and shit, and trading hit nonstop.
Yeah.
So if it's the first case, the AFK farming, who wins in that case?
That would be me.
For sure, easily, right? You just out farm it. This is a very very clear cut matchup. Okay, and if it's the opposite case, then who wins? If you're just only fighting,
It depends. It should be him, but I could still win. But it's like
how would you win?
if I punish him, if like he makes small mistakes and I have enough regen, I just punish him.
What do you
If
mean
he
with punish?
if he doesn't buy enough regen,
What do you mean with punish?
like if he gets too forward or like he thinks he can kill me, but I just turn on him. Like I have stick, I have like a lot of physical damage.
So you mean you kill him?
I can dodge. Yeah.
Okay. So
I
you're
dodge his
saying
spells.
that winning the lane equals killing him.
Yeah, if I get level 6 first.
Okay,
Then
but
he's toast.
that's an assumption that like okay, so okay, let me ask you this. Let's go back one step further. What does it mean to win the lane?
Be ahead, I guess. I don't know. Like this.
Ahead in terms of what?
I guess lane control, net worth, levels.
Yeah, golden XP and lane control. Well, not sure what you mean there, but it's pretty much the only other thing that you could consider is the tower, right? Damage on the
Yeah.
tower. Okay, so if and it is true, like we said, if by farming you automatically out farm him, you have a guaranteed advantage in XP and gold, then fighting him means losing that, right?
Yeah.
So it means you're losing. It doesn't matter if you're gonna kill him or not, because you gave up on the opportunity to just out farm him by fighting.
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting at? So it's not about it doesn't matter like what you're saying, like oh, if I outplay him, if I kill him, or blah blah. Like, no, it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
If you farm the jungle faster, you want to avoid fighting. If you farm the jungle slower, you want to force fighting. Force fights. Force trading or whatever. Trades.
Yeah.
Because it's like an opportunity cost, right? By fighting him, you're spending your time doing that instead of just out farming him, which is a guaranteed win, essentially.
Yeah, makes sense.
Uh,
The only thing I would consider, like I was considering in terms of that, was like didn't want him to gank the side lanes then, because he has no pushing potential. So like he would probably just go to the side lanes, and kill my cores
okay.
from Luna.
So, but didn't you just say that you don't want to gank the side lanes because that would ruin your game, right?
I meant as in like that's not my main focus. But if the opportunity pops up, like if I get the rune or like they dive or something like that, then I would go for sure.
But okay, like, but it's not your main focus. So what is your main focus then?
To farm and pressure him a bit.
Okay. So, but this is where you need to be clear, because you're saying like, I'm not ganking side lanes because my main focus is not to help the side lanes; it's the farm. But then at the same time, you're saying I'm pressuring him so he doesn't gank my side lanes, which is essentially still helping your side lanes, right?
Yeah.
So that's where you need to be clear on like why you're doing things. Now, don't get me wrong, like it is absolutely the right play, like this, because we're talking strategic mechanics wise. Yes, you should definitely max light and just fucking spam that shit because he has low armor and you're gonna destroy him that way. But you need to know why you're doing it.
Yeah, I actually wasn't planning on going that build this game. It was like I was a bit tilted. So like I took my slide first to dodge the spell. Then I was going what's it called? Like my third spell. But then he was kind of like going too far into the tower. Like he got aggro and was gonna kill him, but then I missed my chain.
Yeah,
And then I was like, why not just max it then instead of like farming?
this build, that's the thing now. First of all, what's happening? You're saying my focus was to farm, and then we see 0 points in Flame Guard to level 9.
Yeah, I
So-
changed my after I took my chain level 2, I just decided to just go for the fist build instead of flame guard.
So, okay, straight up, I'll tell you, like, I never ever recommend going this build in solo queue. Why?
Yeah.
You can't farm. You're slightly better at applying pressure, but that's again, it means less opportunity for you, like less impact coming from you on the game, more impact coming from whoever you're making space for, which is your teammates that are random that you cannot count on.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, just look at how the spell scales, man. Like, there's no point getting more than one level early. Like, it's rarely gonna make enough of a difference. Which brings me, this is actually a good moment to mention, like, very, very important rule or question. It's actually more for item builds, and we're gonna get to the item build as well. But it also applies to skill builds, specifically with Ember, because Ember is quite flexible in terms of skill builds. So I tell the students of all levels, all roles, anything. It's always very, very relevant. Question for item skill builds. So every time you buy an item, or in this case, level up a spell, you gotta ask yourself this: what can I do with this item skill point that I cannot do without?
Yeah.
Now, if the answer is nothing, obviously it's a bad choice, because it doesn't change anything. But also, what the answer is helps you a lot because it tells you what your game plan should be.
Yeah.
And the answer here needs to be it needs to be specific, right? So, for example, I deal more damage. That's not a good answer, right? It needs to be I deal enough damage to kill X hero in a stun, for example, something like that, or I deal enough damage to threaten that hero, right? Same way, like just I get tankier, also not a good answer. Need to be tanky enough to survive this or that combo.
Yeah.
So in this case, that's what I'm saying with the chains, right? What can you do with level 2 chains that you cannot do with level 1 chains? It's
Yes, nothing.
pretty much nothing because, okay, it's like 75 damage difference, half a second. Even like, let's take level 3 chains, whatever. Like half a second, 1 second more, 150 more damage. Okay, it's like extra right clicks. It just allows you to do a little bit more damage, right? But the damage comes from your sleight of fist. So you can also just, wait like the cooldown when it's maxed out. You're hitting for 250 physical. Even if not killing them within the chains, you're just gonna sleight of fist them afterwards again. These aren't heroes that are escaping, right? What would be a game to actually max the chains? Well, if they have, first of all, heroes with escapes, right? Like storms, anti-mages and shit, and you actually have some follow-up, like somebody else who needs setup to deal their damage, right? Because you... I mean, if you have maxed out chains, then you're not going to be dealing damage with your other spells, so it's like pointless. Like, let's say you're dual queuing and your buddy's playing Skywrath, and then maybe you can max chains to do like the chain ulti combo or some shit. But in this case, yeah, it's pointless. And so again, anytime that you don't have a clear game plan, it's a bad idea because. And like it kind of sounds like this was the case here because you tell me my plan was one thing, but then your build says something else.
Yeah. I changed like after I took my second level on chains, I just kind of just changed it because I did it to get a kill on him and it didn't work out, and I was like, just fuck it, let me just Yeah, like just go chains. I mean,
Okay, and
play a side
then
of fifth.
and
Yeah.
then okay, but
Then
then
at
basically,
level 5, I mean at level 4, I was like, if I take this Flame Guard level 4, it's not gonna do anything for me because it's just gonna remove it in 2 seconds. Let me just go all aggressive
Mhm.
and just,
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, when you need a spell after, like you cannot think only about the lane stage, because when you need a spell after the lane stage, you cannot magically, have it maxed out in one level, right? So yes, even though this flame guard here, you probably wouldn't even use it, but you need higher levels of the flame guard, around this period, right? Which you cannot have by doing this. So, um, yeah. So in general, when you switch plans halfway through like this, it's kind of, or when you switch plans in general in the game, or you're kind of like going in between two things, it's bad not only for the outcome but also because you cannot actually learn much from a game like that.
yeah.
Because you cannot say like, oh, I committed to this idea, right? Like let's say you said, okay, I'm just gonna AFK farm and solo carry this game, and then you AFK farm, but you lose, and then you could be like, okay, looks like AFK farming was not not a good idea because I did it and we lost, right?
Yeah.
But and the same if you go like, okay, I'm only gonna fight, and again, you could actually draw some conclusions that way. But if you do something in between, it's like whether you win or lose, you can't be sure if your plan was good or not because you didn't really have a plan, right?
Yeah.
So it's bad. It's hard to learn from that game. So that's why I'm gonna write out this general general tip. It's better to fully commit to a wrong plan than to have has two different plans, not commit. All right. So and you'll see that sometimes you can even win with what is essentially the wrong plan, just because you fully committed to it. All right. So let's look at build. Yeah, so build looks pretty solid. I mean, pretty standard items. But again, the important thing here is we could talk a bit more in depth about the build. There's some stuff I want to mention, Ember specifically.
Yeah.
But again, it's important to apply this question, right? So it's not just about your build in a vacuum. It's like what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
So you buy first item, Yules. All right. What can you do with Yules that you cannot do without? Right, we're applying this question here.
Yeah. Survive engagements with the enemy. Like just in general, if they get
No.
silence off on me, like they can just chain stun me.
Okay, who has a silence?
Sky and Grim, but like
Aha.
I'm count. Hmm.
Okay, yes. So then what you said is not right. It's not survive engagements in general. It's survive engagements that involve Sky and Grimstroke, right?
Yeah.
Um. So again, this is you have to be specific here, because if your
Yeah.
plan was let's say I'm gonna go and pressure the CK, then the Yules doesn't really help you do that. All right.
Mm. Yeah.
So if you're buying Yules, it means you want to be fighting the Sky and the Grimstroke.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't need it. All right, and then Maelstrom straightforward. It's the farming. It's the best item, pretty much. Most games, I'll get Maelstrom first. BKB,
Mm.
obviously you need. Ags allows you. Only this one here, maybe like whether you got the Ags or the Shivas first. Is debatable because Shivas is also very good against CK, and if CK was a problem already, kind of looks like it was with the heart. Maybe the Shivas before the Ags could have been better, but we'll see that in the replay.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important. Again, like the easiest example with this item stuff is a Battle Fury, right? Like, or typical farming item, right? If you buy Battle Fury and then you go fight, it's a horrible choice. And if you buy it and you go farm, then it's the right choice. So it's about what you're actually doing with this item.
Yeah.
Now again, just because like Ember is one of my favorite heroes, most played, I'll also throw in some Ember specific tips,
Yes.
which is slightly deviating from, because like we said, we're focusing on this, right? Like the general view, but might as well, you know, add this as well. So I'm gonna make it like a different section here, Ember specific tips. Just gonna write down some stuff which will help you with this hero. Yeah, so first one, I recommend you never buy raid band on Ember. It's just you only have, you have limited slots for these small early game items, and there are many choices which are way better than raid band. Because what does raid band give you? Attack speed, you don't really care about. Armor, which you kind of care about, but again, there are better choices. So don't buy raid band. Instead, what are your other options? So borrow and wand are kind of a must pretty much every game.
Yeah.
Right? And then that leaves you basically with one more slot essentially for a small item, because for small items you're gonna run into slot issues. So the options to consider are Orb of Corrosion. Another one is Raindrop. It's super good. It essentially, buffs your Flame Guard because it triggers before the Flame Guard. And the Orb of Corrosion doesn't have to be the full one per se, but it is just really, really, really strong on Ember. It is quite expensive, and it essentially delays your first major item, which would be Maelstrom most of the time. But a lot of games, especially a game like this where there's a squishy Skywrath core, you get a loads of value out of this. And the other one is Earn.
Yeah.
So Earn is a super strong item in general. It's like you have to have one on the team every game. It's way too good. The stats are good on every hero, especially for Ember. Even though you already have Bottle Wand, and this is like even more mana, even more HP heal, it fits well. You can definitely make use of that extra healing, also aggressively, and you're participating in a lot of kills generally with this hero, so you get a lot of charges. Again, Earn, right? So not Spirit Vessel. Don't make that mistake. The upgrade Spirit Vessel is not worth it in like 95% of games. It's 3 to 4 times the gold for, basically just buffing the active. That's it. And the active can get dispelled easily, etc. So yeah, one of these is what you want to be getting instead of raid band. And when it comes to starting build, if you are gonna be like going for this Orb of Corrosion, which most of the time you should, you can actually start with a Blightstone. So Quelling, Blightstone, 3 branches. It helps you work towards that. Helps you with last hitting, right? It's like the Blightstone is like a mini Quelling blade in itself, and it obviously buffs your Sleight of Fist from the start. Again, this is for especially if you are planning to be maxing Sleight of Fist by 7, which again you should against squishy ranged heroes. This is definitely the best way to do it. If you're up against something like, I don't know, Dragon Knight, so obviously you're not going to max Light, you're going to max Flame Guard, then you can do a different starting item build as well. Maybe like Earn components, like Circlet or some shit, but yeah. So against squishy ranged, where you max start Blightstone, 3 branch. I think you could even do like 2 branch and fairy. I think you have the money for that. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, let's keep watching.
And just a heads up, like the
Mhm.
first 3 minutes, the last hitting and just everything in general was so awful. Like I was a bit tilted. Like nothing was going right in the beginning.
Dude,
I was
don't worry. Look, we're not gonna. I'm not gonna talk about anything like, oh, you missed the spell here. Oh, you missed the last hit. Like that's. I don't need to
yeah
tell you that. You can see that yourself as well. All right. I'm focusing on stuff that's
the
a decision, right? So I'm gonna be telling you like, let's say you decide to TP somewhere. I'm gonna
mm,
talk for 10 minutes about why you shouldn't. Let's say, right? Because that's a
yeah
decision. That's not like a misclick or whatever.
yeah
Uh, So yeah, it's mostly fast forwarding through lane stage. Now, obviously, lane stage is important. We are gonna wait. When did you? I think you misclicked the chains here, or yeah, you
yeah. I
wanted to
tried
chain
to get
him.
him there.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
tower.
that's the only reason I leveled it there. But then I got even more triggered since I missed it.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, this is a good moment to talk about something else. Yeah, I just wanted to mention. Obviously, lane stage is important. We could definitely talk a lot about lane stage. Also, if you, what server do you play on?
EOS
You play,
usually.
yeah, you play US, yeah, Denmark, right? So, we can also play 1v1s. There's a lot of stuff to practice with that, but it's a whole other topic. So, mostly gonna skip over that now since we don't have that much
Yeah.
time. But for future lessons, we can also focus exactly on the lane stage if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, about the chains here. So, good moment to bring up another general rule. I would say this one is probably the most important thing I'm gonna be writing down. Like, if there's one thing you remember from the whole coaching, it should be this. Again, this applies to any role, any hero, whatever. It's the way a way of looking at the game.
Yeah.
Always make the enemy react to you instead of you reacting to the enemy. All right. So there are like 1,000 situations in which this applies, and 1,000, examples of why it's the case. But I bring it up now because it's a good moment. So here you are essentially reacting, right? It's a very minor example. It's a very minor moment, but it wasn't your plan from the start. Like, oh, I'm gonna go chain side of fist build, right? Because you said initially you were thinking about farming, but
Yeah.
because the Skywrath, out of position in the tower, or whatever, you're like, oh shit, let's punish that and skill chains real quick. The thing is that, like, why you don't want to do that, because it throws you off, right? You need to be the one in charge, right? This is essentially you're getting baited away from your game plan. And you should only really do this if it's like a super free opportunity. I mean, if it was like right here next to you, like so close that you don't even need to use a sleight of fist, like, and it's like a 100% kill, then sure. But in this case, like, he's not gonna die, right? He's just gonna get a lot of harass in. Okay, but you're gonna get a lot of harass in anyway, right? And this is just, again, it's deviating from your plan because of something that he's doing, and it's not something that you meant to do, and that's stuff you want to avoid. It's better to force mistakes than to, change what you're doing just so you can take advantage of something. Wait, this? Yeah. So yeah, I get the early stick here. I mean, obviously it's okay against Sky, but for the most part. So actually, yeah, let me ask you, why do you buy the stick? Right, same question. What can you do with stick that you cannot do without?
Like survive the lane and punish him. Because like I feel like the way he's playing really, really aggressive, and he's not like minding his HP too much. So like if he ever steps in, and he thinks like he can kill me or like anything like that, I can just turn and kill him easily.
Why do you think
Also, like,
why do you think he's not minding his HP?
like just the way he's playing in general, he's playing really aggressive, and I can use it to my advantage.
Mm-hmm. But it's a Skyrat though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what he should do.
Yeah.
You should never assume that game is gonna make a mistake.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, so the thing with the stick here is, if the reason is that you're gonna outplay, get a return kill when he tries to kill you, that's not a very good plan, because maybe if it's like his second game of Skyrat, it's gonna happen. But usually, people who play Skyrat, especially mid, they play him a lot, and like he's gonna know about your stick, man. Again, forget about MR, forget about this shit. Like, you shouldn't. Like, the enemy will fuck up should never be a plan, a part of your plan.
Yeah.
Right, you will make the enemy fuck up, but in a way that is forced, right, where they don't have a choice. Basically,
Yeah.
through smart movements, etc. But not like you could put them in a lose-lose situation, right? But in terms like, oh, he is gonna forget about my stick, like that's not a good thing to count on.
Yeah.
Main reason I'm asking is like, it's very deceiving to think of stick as an HP item, but it's a mana item. Because yes, it gives 15 health and mana, but your mana is always way lower than your health. So essentially, it gives you far more mana pool than it does, HP.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to like sustain through his harass, stick is a bad item. That, like, long story short. If your goal is to, have more mana to spam your spells, okay, I can see it, right? But they're very different things. And so far, I don't think you've had any mana issues either. So yeah, it's like.
And here, like, I feel like I was trying to like tease him so he wouldn't get the last hits, but like I was also having earlier. I didn't think his range would be this long. When I got like so annoyed, I was like, when is this range so long?
Yeah. Yeah, you skill the level to chains. But I mean, basically, you got baited into what he wants, right? That's what we talked about at the start. Like, he wants this, like, you guys spamming spells, both being low HP and like trying to kill each other. That's what Skywrath excels. This is your third self, right?
Yeah.
That's what Skywrath excels at, and that's not what Ember excels at, right? Also, think of like the levels, right? When, like, which point of Sleight of Fist is the strongest?
4.
Definitely 4, right? It's actually one of the most insanely scaling spells. Again, like, what can you do with each point that you cannot do without? Well, honestly, only at level 4 does it actually become spammable. 6 seconds, right? It's -4 cooldown on each level, but the difference between 18, 14, and 10 is not that big comparatively. But from 10 to 6, that's a big difference, because it goes from medium cooldown to spammable, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's the moment you're pretty much playing for, right? And it's gotta be a case of a lot of lanes with Ember. Like, when you get that max Sleight of Fist, especially with Blightstone and Orb of Corrosion, most heroes just cannot lane against you unless they are specific tanky heroes. In which case you wouldn't go for that build. So, and then look at Skywrath. Like, what's the strongest point of Arcane Bolt? What do you think?
Level 4.
Why?
Because he can spam it non-stop. And like keep chasing you. Like.
Okay, what do we say was the cutoff for spammable in the case of Sleight of Fist?
What do you mean?
So, like I mentioned, look at the cooldown on Sleight of Fist, right? 18, 14, 10, 6.
Mm.
Right? Why is 6 spammable and 10 is not? Right? I said only the last point becomes spammable.
Yeah, because it goes like from like medium spammable to like really spammable.
Yeah, because basically, you could say, like, I would say somewhere around 8 seconds or so. 8 or 7 seconds is the cutoff between like a just medium cooldown, like I said, and actually short spammable cooldown. But so what's the cooldown on level 1 Arcane Bolt?
It's 5.
Yeah, it's spammable from level 1. You don't need level 4 Arcane Bolt for it to be spammable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically I would argue, yes, the spell also scales, but it's at its strongest from level 1. Also, look at the damage, by the way. the damage from Sleight of Fist from level 1 to 6, level 1 to 4, it quadruples, right? From 40 to 160.
Yeah.
Whereas Arcane Bolt only doubles from 60 to 120. So yeah, I'd say the first point of the Arcane Bolt is it's at its strongest. And basically, all this is basically to say that at level 1, 2, 3, 4, he's stronger. When are you stronger? At level 7. You suddenly become way, way, way stronger. Yes. So playing to try and kill him in the first few levels doesn't make sense. You're playing into his strength, into his timing. And yeah, you're buying already the third salve right now. So now you go for the dive. You do kill him, but again, it's not like an absolute win because he's actually leading in last hits, right? Even though we said your hero farms faster. And second, you bought 3 salves. Okay, you started with 1, so let's say you bought 2 extra salves. How much gold are 2 extra salves? 220, and you got 240 for the kill. And what's gonna happen now? This guy comes back to lane with full HP, full mana. Right, so even though you're like 100 net worth ahead, like you're gonna be super fucked now. Like he's gonna start zoning you.
Yeah. Luckily the rune was there.
Yeah, Enigma comes to help. You get the rune. That definitely helps. Okay, I mean this guy overextends and you kill him again. So now at the second death, it kind of salvage thing. You even get his wards. You're gonna get another rune. And now you have the max light. You finish raid band, yes. Like especially against Sky. Like how does armor help against Sky? Like it's raid band.
Yeah, this was really weird, awkward. I was like, let me just go in and kill him. I kind of messed up, then I was like, let me just commit.
Yeah, this is another classic thing, like when you miss a spell and then you like double down and try to go anyway. Generally a bad idea. Basically, I mean, we could talk about a couple things here with the rune, with the way you approach this and everything, but the more important thing to realize here is like you killed him, but you might as well be dead yourself right now.
Yeah.
On paper, you didn't die, but you have 0 HP, 0 mana, and you use 3 remnants. Right? It's gonna take 2 minutes to get your remnants back. So you're essentially off the map right now. Essentially dead. It's the same thing. And he's gonna be fully ready in 10 seconds when he TP's back, and you're not gonna be ready in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's why like this, you cannot be this focused on kills.
Yeah, as you said, before, I kind of like made a mistake and then I just went with it a bit. Like I was just back and forth. Going the Sleight of Fist build.
Yeah, you get the third point of chains.
Yeah, I just thought I just want to make this game miserable for him and just keep running at them. Like as my way of making space, because I feel like as soon as I had the 2 levels on chains, there was no point in me taking Flame Guard, like that, because he would move it in 2 seconds. If I was planning to run at them.
Well, yeah, still not true though. I mean, again, level 1 and 2 Flame Guards, yes, they drop in 1 spell, but level 3 and 4 they stay up, and also you can use it after he casts his first round of spells. So actually, here I want to go back. It's a good moment to add one more thing to the pre-game thought checklist, which we didn't get to, expanding on this part, and this will probably be the last thing since we're approaching an hour. So by the way, this is pretty normal, right? Like we barely got to the start of the replay, but we basically talked about what happened in the game. Generally only look at the first half because everything else is based on mistakes from there, and the scoreboard. That's very important. So so the last one is the question, being which enemy core do you focus on for sure? Now, The way I like to explain this is, in this case, we have this is an offlane Wraith King, right? Oh no, safe lane Wraith King, offlane Chaos
So,
Knight.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have Wraith King, Chaos Knight, Skywrath. Okay. Imagine you have 3 big red buttons in front of you for each one of them. And if you press the button, that hero on the enemy team starts off 0-5, right? Just has a really, really bad start. But you can only pick one of the 3. Which one do you pick?
I would say Wraith King.
Okay, why?
Because I feel like he's really strong, and like if he gets his farm, it's gonna be hard for us to go on him. So we have like we play around our ults, and if we like go on him, he's just gonna come back and fuck us. And like the CK and the Sky, we can just kill them with the ults. Like we have Enigma ulti and Winter Wyvern and Luna ulti. It's like they can easily punish us if the Wraith King has farm, and we aren't as threatened by the CK and Skywrath. I feel like.
Okay, so you would focus the Wraith King, sorry, to prevent him from getting farmed.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you like this: what is Wraith King's game plan usually for the first? If it's a normal game, if nothing strange happens, what does Wraith King do for like the first 15 to 20 minutes?
Farm and push out lanes.
Just farms, right? It's good. Yeah. Farms is Radiance usually. Okay. Now imagine Wraith King is 0-5. What is his game plan then?
Just farm still.
Yeah, it's he still needs to farm, right? Like no, actually, so that's the thing. His game plan doesn't actually change. All right, now let's apply this to Chaos Knight. What is offlane CK's game plan usually for the first 15 minutes, 15-20?
Just pressure the lane, take the top tower. I don't know, kill the Luna, take away the jungle.
Pressure the lane, yeah, push the tower, right? Basically, act like classic, tanky offlaner. Okay, and what is Chaos Knight's game plan if he starts off 0-5?
I don't know, just dying. Yeah, like it's not much you can do.
Exactly, right? Well, I mean, the only thing you can do is like also start farming the jungle, pretty much, because he can definitely not do his original game plan of pressuring, right? So you see the difference here is that when you target the guy that farms, you don't actually change anything in the game, because they're still gonna farm. But if you target the guy that wants to be active, you are changing something. So not, and again, 90% of people do actually say the farming core, but it's not the farming core. Another reason why. So still, what you said about the Wraith King is true, right? Yes, he gets farmed. It's gonna be an issue. So and then, like any carry, obviously, if it was a PA or anti-mage, whatever, right? Like you don't want those heroes to get farmed. Okay, but if killing them is not the way to prevent them from getting farmed, what is the way then?
Pushing the tower and like having vision and controlling the places he wants to farm.
Perfect. Taking map control, right? Taking towers, limiting their space to farm. Okay. Now imagine you guys group up to push their safe lane tower, let's say, or their mid tower, whatever. You group up to push the tier 1. Which enemy core is most likely to show up to defend?
What did you say? I just spaced out.
No worries. Which enemy core do you think is gonna come to defend the tower?
Definitely the Elder Titan and Grimstroke.
No, those are the supports. I mean the supports, yes, but which core will be with them?
Core? CK and Sky.
Exactly, right? Anyone but the farming hero.
Yeah.
So even if the Wraith King is 0-10, it doesn't actually make it any easier for you guys to take towers and to slow down his farm. Because he's not going to be the one defending anyway. He's just going to be somewhere in the fucking jungle.
Yeah.
But if Chaos Knight has a shit game and he has brown boots at 10 minutes, when you guys push the tower, how is he going to defend that? Right? No way. He's just going to feed. Right? So the core that is most likely to defend towers usually from or active mid. And yeah, in this case, Skyrath, sure, it's an active mid, but he doesn't do jack shit for defending towers, right? And also, like, if you guys group, I mean, Skyrath is not good early on in these, like, multi-hero engagements. No matter what build he goes, no matter what build you, like, your Slight is gonna be half his HP, so it's not like you need to pressure the Skyrath per se, otherwise it's gonna be a huge problem. But that is definitely the case with Chaos Knight, because yeah, it looks like he had a pretty awesome game. 14 minutes, Bracer, Corrosion, Shreds, Echo Saber, right? So that's what, 2k HP? Let's see what he had at 14 minutes. Off the top of my head, I imagine it's somewhere there. Let's see, he's gonna get his Echo Saber delivered. Yeah, so
around there.
19th. If he took all stats talent, he would have 2k HP, right? Almost. Or if he had somebody try it. So yeah, this is 40 minutes. Or so how are you supposed to get through this guy, right? And actually pressure a tower. It's tough.
Yeah.
Very tough, yeah. So yeah. Yeah, there's still some, again, especially for Ember specifically, there's still a lot more stuff I can tell you, but we are at about an hour, so I'm gonna have to call it here. I think this does give you a lot to think about, though.
But like, if I was to do like another session, like what kind of replays do you want? Like what type of
So
what would you want to work on if I was to like do another session?
I mean, first of all, it's good to have replays like these that are like kind of even-ish, right? So we don't want stomps because there's not much to say there. Here we went really in depth on one replay, but also, like I said, because I'm introducing this like new concepts. Now that you're kind of aware of this stuff. Also, what I do with a lot of students, we don't actually look at the full replays. We just look at the scoreboard, the builds, the matchups. We talk about that, and then like it's a bit faster. We spend like 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes per replay, and like we go through several. And then there's also live games, right? Which is basically, I coach you live while you play, help you with the decision making, items build, etc. We do that with just live spectating with Dota Plus, and they actually added the coach function now, so it can be ranked. And yeah, then there's also the 1v1s. If we do like laning stage practice, we could practice matchups. For example, this Ember Sky matchup, we could like, you can see the different approaches, different builds, how it's gonna play out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then this all for like the general stuff, which is better with heroes that you're already comfortable on, like Ember in this case. But also if you wanna like, we could also talk about your hero pool. Like if you wanna increase your hero pool, again, we could work on specific heroes, etc.
Yeah, that would be nice actually.
Yeah, but again, I have to repeat, it's important to, if we're working on a hero, we cannot also be working on this stuff, right? It's gonna be too overwhelming. Then we just focus on the hero only.
Yeah. But like if if I do another session, should I like have in mind like what I want like to do, or just?
I mean, this is, if you have in mind, we do what you want. If you don't, I'll suggest something, right? I would suggest if it were up to me, I would suggest for the next one we do like a live game with Ember, and basically, you can see these things like applied. Like I will take over the whole forming the game plan thing for you, so you can kind of see it in action, and then you get used to like how you should be thinking as well. All right, so I'm gonna link you my coaching Discord. This is where I have all my students. You can ask me questions there anytime. You can also see questions by others. Also, if you could leave me a review on the site, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I will.
And yeah, I would say try at least 4 or 5 games, thinking about these things, applying them a little bit,
Mm.
especially the pre-game thought checklist, right? Playing active, just make a plan. Doesn't matter what your plan is. Don't worry about, if it's good or bad. Just some plan. So then
Yeah,
you can actually make some conclusions afterwards.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, let me know how that goes, and then we can arrange the next one.
yeah, for sure. Thanks for yeah, thanks for helping me out, I
Of course,
guess.
no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will send you the recording. Probably upload it to Drive or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Good luck. Have a good one.
Thanks,
And
Mino. You too. Have a nice day.
yeah, we'll see you
See ya.
next time. Bye bye.